I am so far behind on Netflix shows, so I'm sorry. But now you get to hear me talk about Woman of the Hour. Let's get started. Chase Lee Hockey here is the Blue Futon reviewing Woman of the Hour. So it's about pretty simple premises based off a true story. I believe in 1979, there's a girl on the dating game, and one of the contestants is a serial killer. But what is a little bit different about this story is there's a little bit more interesting characters than just saying there's a girl on the dating show interviewing these three guys, because there's who's in the audience? Who's this 14-year-old? Who are these other victims that are going to be talked about throughout this quick and simple hour and a half movie? So, did I like this film? Absolutely. It kept my attention. It was written sharply. It didn't expose, or it wasn't explicit, and that's good. This isn't like a torture porn revenge film, and they don't need to do that. This isn't supposed to be graphic. They don't need to be graphic. You already know what is implied, and that is enough. And that's why I think Andrew Kendrick did a fantastic job. I wouldn't say honoring the victims, but being very mature about how to tell this story. So, what I like about this film, like I said, the acting by Anna Kendrick, by Tony Hale, by the main guy who plays the serial killer, and all other supporting cast who have a fantastic job. Because going into this, it could have been something sleazy, or it could have been something that was unnecessary or just diminishing, and this movie isn't that. Because of how, like I said, Anna Kendrick decided to film this movie. Um, yes, you could say that, you know, some people might call it like a pro-feminist movie, but I'm going to have to disagree on that just because of in that time, I am watching all these serial killer docs about, well, there's not really a documentary about this I know about, but like Ted Bundy and and Manson and Marilyn Manson, not Marilyn Manson, he's a singer, and all these other serial killers that the cops really didn't take them seriously because, like, oh, they're women. And I hate to say it, that's true. People are like, oh, maybe you wanted to be raped, or maybe, did you ask for it? And that kind of dialogue, which is pretty fucked up in that time and place. Because the reason I say that is there is a part in this movie where a girl in the audience, she wasn't one of the people that were uh, assaulted or raped by this person. One of her friends was. And there's this scene where, she's like, I'm 90% sure that's him. But the boyfriend's like, well, are you 100% sure? And, it's kind of a come to Jesus moment about him saying, you know what? I need to listen to her. And there are some good elements with that. I think the most predominant storyline is the 14-year-old of how smart she is. I know it sounds horrific, but when you watch this movie about she woke up, she's tied up, and how she maneuvers this about just totally, you know, taking him by the balls, not literally, but knowing what she needs to do to get out alive and how smart she is. It's like, holy shit. Like, I don't give gravitas and bravo of like, she didn't scream. Yes, there are, situations where it happens in real life, but she knew. She's like, you know what? Something happened to me, and I think I know how to get out of it. And she just, it's flawless. And that sounds horrific when I talk about it that way, how it's flawlessly getting out of the situation. But I mean, it's horrific that she's even in that situation. But my God, the fight or flight with her as a 14-year-old is fucking just amazing. I know that sounds horrible to say, but I know bravo for her to wanting to live, even having a shitty past. And that was, I was a little bit nervous about that because it does kind of do timeline jumps between like 72, 73, 77, 79. And I'm like, okay, what are we trying to do with this timeline? But I didn't mind it once the credits were rolling. There was a interesting scene where it has like a neighbor, and it was like, okay, interesting dynamic you wanted to add into the movie, but I had nothing wrong with it. I mean, if I had to give one-ish negative of the movie, I guess I could have wanted more about the characters, about what he what not I know it's horrific what he went through, but there are some dialogue things at the very end where it talks about how, you know, he was arrested, put out on bail, then he killed a 21-year-old and a 12-year-old, and how he was, convicted of 7 crimes, but they think he could have done 130. Um, I hate to say I wanted to maybe expand on that just because I also get really pissed off when cops just don't do their job. Like, that's your job, right? Your job is to trust these women. And this is where I also think bail, if you are convicted of rape, convicted of child molestation, convicted of murder, no bail for you. And this whole cashless bail bullshit of like these illegals like beating up cops on fucking street corners, and it's like literally on film, but it's like, oh, no bail, no bail. What the fuck are we doing? Like, and that is a frustration because if you would have done no bail at all, you have this 14-year-old, she's confessing that this motherfucker did something, but we still do bail? Like, what is the state of California doing? Like, this is what frustrates me with some of these liberal DAs. You don't care about the fucking victims. What about the victims? And this is the same, that was the story, right? The one where it happened, I want to say 2013, where the girl says she was kidnapped, but the cops didn't believe her, and they said, you're a liar, that she was never kidnapped, but they realized, oh, wait, she was kidnapped? It's like, what the fuck? And so this kind of reminds me of that story where it's just like, cops, do your job. Yes, there's going to be like the Jesse Smollets out there, but it's just one of the things like, oh my God, it's frustrating. But anyway, Woman of the Hour, it's treated extremely well. It's not derogative. It is graphic to an extent of, choking out and things occurring. But Anna Kendrick does a fantastic job of reeling that in, showing what only needs to be shown. And I think it does service to the victims and just how fucked up this whole situation was. So Woman of the Hour will receive a 4.5 out of 5 with Futon, which goes at 90%. So see the critics and news scores gave this one. So critics say 91% with 145 of them. Audience score is 68% with over 500. This is where the audience are wrong. Critic consensus: defiantly directed by star Anna Kendrick, Woman of the Hour uses incredible true story as a foundation of a powerful examination of the intersection between systematic misogyny and violence. Systematic. I really hate that word because, like, yes, you could say I am intrigued by the dialogue about what was actually occurring on the show. Yes, some of those, like, systematic, like I said, I just don't like that word because it's like, yeah, I just don't like that word. Systematic, I think it uses a little bit too much. Misogyny. I mean, I hate the word, but I mean, if what was true happening behind the scenes of the date game and is it the cops or is it that dumbass security guard? But again, it's a movie. I don't know what actually was true. Did this girl really exist in the audience? I don't know. So, you have those little, like, you always gotta like have in the back of your head of like, what is real, what is not. But the meat and potatoes. He was on the show, and Kendrick played a real girl, and this 14-year-old was abused. So anyway, 90, 91, 68. Chase Leak here at the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. Won't know things Blue Futopia. You Blue Futonians, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Watch us take tomorrow. We found month and year for every single freaking one of you. Peace and love, and just don't kill people. Don't be that guy or girl, because there are girl serial killers and girl killers. There are.